It's time for the Film Crickets with Jay Fortier, Chris Martineau, and Melanie Howerton. On this week's episode, the Crickets are joined by a girl in bed with movies and a boatload of popcorn. YouTube sensation Cassie from Popcorn in Bed. Review the 1982 American supernatural horror film Poltergeist. Does it stand the test of time? Let's find out. Your Film Crickets are on now.
All right. Hey, friends. My name is Jay Fortier, and I am along with my good friends Chris Martineau.
Hello.
And Melanie Howerton.
Hey.
Hey. And it is Cassie. We are welcoming her from Popcorn in Bed, the YouTube channel. But listen, we are honored to have her here today, and we are going to talk about the movie Poltergeist,
Dun, dun,
which
dun.
she actually did a reaction to.
Yes.
So welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. This is fun.
I want to tell you that I just wanted to tell you right away that I watched your Halloween, and everyone here knows that that's my favorite movie. And
Really?
I loved it. Yes, and it's always my favorite movie, and I loved it. And I love you, honest to God. Like I feel like I know you just from watching you on the internet, and it's crazy. And you really do have just something about you. I feel like you're like that something about Mary girl. Like you see you know, for 2 seconds, and you just love you, and you feel like you know you, and I just love you.
So many
And
jokes.
yeah, seriously though, I'm so excited to have you on here, and I could not wait to do the show with you.
Oh, that is so kind. Thank you. Yeah. That was so freaky, that movie. So you must be a horror movie
I am, yes.
guru.
Yes, I am. So I'm so excited to do Poltergeist with you.
Yeah. I think, it's been a while since I had watched a scary movie. I really haven't watched any since last October. And maybe my threshold was a little higher when I was doing those, but I feel like it went down for the Poltergeist because that was terrifying to me.
Oh. All
Well, I
right.
can't wait to do this one with you.
All right.
So that sort of half answers a question that Chris was about to sort of ask. But Chris, why don't you
I will.
get into that? Or are we doing the IMDb?
Oh, no, we'll do this first. So
All right.
look, we've got, I consider myself a horror movie fan. I mean, that's my go-to, I want to see things that scare me. You know what I mean? I can't go on roller coasters. They scare me. I don't want to feel like I'm about to die. Right. So I can't go on roller coasters. I'm pretty phobic of them. But horror movies, seeing a guy get shot in the face with a nail gun, I laugh and laugh and laugh. While other people go on roller coasters and they laugh and laugh and laugh, and I would want to throw up. So this is how I get how I deal with my, the fear of death, right? But having said that, I need to know, since Poltergeist deals with some pretty foundational, scary stuff, right? We're gonna get into it in a minute. But I guess the first question I have to say is, since this is a ghost movie, where does everybody stand on ghosts? Real, not real, explainable, not explainable. Maybe you've had a thing happen to you. We don't need to go into that thing if you don't want. But it would be nice to know where the foundation of these fears are, right? Because Jaws, as we talked about, it's a pretty foundational fear of nature. That thing I can't see in the water is going to eat me at any moment. So, where do we stand on things that may or may not exist? And I'm going to start with Cassie. Hit it.
Dang it. I was hoping someone else would go first.
Nope, you're going first.
It's
That's
funny
scary.
After this movie, I want to say that, no, that's not real. That could never happen. I don't believe in ghosts. But I think I've heard enough stories.
Okay.
And, I don't think I've ever had an encounter or anything. But I think they're out there. I think they're real.
Do you think you're going to get sucked through a jelly vortex and end up in your living room, or just
No.
like that level?
I don't.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And I'd like to
All right.
believe they're mostly kind ghosts.
Why? There's so many asshole-ish people in the world. Why would they be kind?
I need to believe that.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Because we need it.
I can
That's
deal with
why.
that. All right, cool. Jason, what's your deal, man? Where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things I don't really give much thought to. Though if I'm watching a movie like, well, not so much this, but because I've seen it so often or enough since I was a kid that it doesn't affect me like it did. But like something like Insidious does creep me out, but in a fun way, where I'm like, but like, I don't know, it's hard to explain it all, but it's sort of like the hairs on the back of your neck, and you're like, oh my God, run! But
all right,
it's hard to say I do or don't, but I believe stuff can easily get manifested in your own brain. Meaning you know what I mean? Like if everybody's like, oh, you get, if you play with the Ouija board, man, it's going to bring all the stuff in. And I bet you anything, if you're thinking about that 24/7, you're probably going to be hearing every noise and pin drop in the corner, and you're going to be like, so I don't know. I think it's sometimes you can bring it on.
Cool. Yeah. Melanie,
you really don't want to ask me this question.
You don't have to answer the question. Okay. That's cool.
So I'll answer it. But the thing is yes, I do believe. And my mom has some stories, and so do I. My mother has seen things that she had no idea were the truth until she found out later on. Okay, for instance, when I lived in Milford, Mass, when I was younger, there was a lot of things going on in the apartment, and later on she found out, and I hate to say this, but yeah, somebody hung himself in my bedroom closet when I was a little girl. Before I had moved in, his girlfriend had broke up with him, and
you just made it sound like you were living in the room and someone hung themselves in your closet.
Not when I was living in the room.
Okay,
but we moved in right after.
That's something.
We moved in right after. My mom has stories that she has heard about that, and then I have a story of something that I had seen, and so yeah, I totally believe in that. I believe a lot of the stuff, that you hear, is probably not true, but I do believe in that sort of thing. So
that's cool. Yeah. All right. So look, here's my deal. I'm a man of science. I have a master's degree in engineering, and and I teach physics, and I teach physics at the university level. But I do like this stuff. I'm a skeptical believer. If I have some evidence, I have no choice but to agree with it. I'm not going to say, Melanie or Jay or Cassie, if you said you saw something, I'm not going to say that you didn't. I'm not one of those a-hole skeptics. You know what I mean? It's just no, there's no way. There's no way. If you said it, I'm not going to say you didn't see it. Yeah. I don't know what it was. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I'm not going to say it didn't happen. So I have some respect for people like that. You know what I mean? But, so again, I'm a skeptical believer. I'd like it to happen. I don't think it is, but I think it'd be neat. What's that ugh? Who said ugh?
Well, you're like the mom in Poltergeist. Yeah. When she first discovered, she's laughing. She thinks it's hilarious, and I could not understand that reaction at all, because I would be out of that house so fast, burn it to the ground immediately.
Now, I want to qualify something, because Cassie, I'm actually going to agree with you. I think it'd be neat, but I don't want to deal with it. I would want to go and be able to go visit a haunted house and then trip out of there. There's no way. Once you sit down and you turn around and suddenly the chairs are arranging themselves geometrically in an instant, I'd be like, see you later. At that point, can we agree? So let's get into the meat of this, right? This movie is scary or not scary? Where do we stand on this movie? Is it a scary movie? And when is it the most scary for you? Before we get into scenes. Because Cassie, I think the scariest points of this movie are the little things. They're here. The dog looking at nothing. And that was such a good boy, by the way. That golden retriever is such a good boy. But the dog looking at nothing, that's scary as shit. Or if I came home and my wife was like, hey, sit here and you'll get dragged across the kitchen mystically, I'd be like, no, and pack your bags. Gosh. See you later. I would see it once and I'd be gone. I wouldn't be in the situation where my daughter would get trapped in the netherworld inside the closet and I can't leave. I'd be gone way before.
Right.
And then I go and visit the people that, So I think that's the scariest moment. It's the little things for me in this movie that are terrifying, like The Conjuring. You're not going to have a giant skull monster at the end of The Conjuring. Conjuring's scary. So what makes, Cassie or Jay or Melanie, what makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up, or does it at all for this movie? Anybody jump in?
Cassie, go first.
Cassie, go ahead. Because I'm not trying to put you on the spot. No, the fact is, it's cool because you have this is your debut as far as you watching this film. So
well, to me, if you have watched my channel, you know that before I started, the scariest movie I saw was Signs and maybe like I Am Legend. Like I did not watch anything scary. In October last year, the scariest one I watched was The Shining. I also did like The Others and Halloween.
Scary.
And then,
Not
so
scary.
my
kidding.
my threshold is low.
Psycho.
Yes.
Okay.
To me, that was
scary.
so scary. But I know that to some people who watch a ton of horror, that's like baby stuff. So to me, that was so scary. Like 8.5 out of 10. Scary.
Okay.
What part scared you the most, do you think?
The first, when she's standing in front of the TV and like this for the second time in the parents' bedroom and everyone's sleeping, then when that hand like reaches out and she turns around and says, "They're here." No, like my whole body went numb. Like.
Yep. Yep. Because.
And then of course the clown.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Oh, the clown. Oh, clown's bad news.
Now the clown, I think I want to add to that. It's already creepy before he turns his face and starts wrapping the stuff
clown
around.
ever.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why would anyone have that in their room?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And then here's the thing: if that scares him nightly, just tell her. Tell mom, even if she's, at first not going to do something about it. You keep that up. Maybe she'll take it away. It's
staring at the bed, staring at you. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's
and
one of those things.
This film is almost like coming from the eyes of a child, because if you wake up in the middle of the night and you see like this shadowy figure. Is it a stuffed animal? What is that looking at me? It's this creepy clown staring at me. But it's also thunderstorms and the scary thing that's under the bed and the creepy closet, and there's just so many things that are from a child's point of view and a child's eyes that we were all scared of. I'm still scared of those things.
Yeah, Melanie, that's my point before. But guys, that's my point before, is that it's the things that are creepy scary are those foundational things that we are scared of as children, that Tobe Hooper, the director, and Steven Spielberg particularly, because he knows how to like poke at childhood fears. Like all his movies are about children somehow and how they're in danger. Well, not all of them, right? But and they knew how to get at those things. But to that end, Jay, by the way, skipping the IMDb rundown, we're heading into this thing full blast.
Okay, but can I at least do one thing? No, I have I have a triumphant return of the IMDb one sentence review.
All right.
So my kids do the one sentence synopsis of this movie, and boy, did they just like this is a sentence, boy. You ready?
It's time now for the one sentence synopsis from the IMDb.
A family's home is haunted by a host of demonic ghosts. The film crickets are on now.
Enough said.
I hope you will be lucky, and I hope you enjoyed the show.
That was 11 words. Words. Not bad.
Isn't that funny? I was like, you gotta hear this.
Adorable.
Usually it's like, a little more of an elaborate sentence.
He's only 7.
Yeah. So since I know that Melanie's got some notes on some of these actors in here, so I am going to do the actors that are in this movie. You got Jo Beth Williams as Diane Freeland. You got Heather O'Rourke, Craig T. Nelson, Beatrice Straight, Dominic Dunn, Oliver Robbins, Michael McManus, and Zelda. Couldn't forget Zelda Rubinstein as the trans medium in the movie. So definitely wanted to bring those up. Craig T. Nelson, fantastic. But we'll get to the acting in a moment. So anyhow, let's get back to it, right? So scary movie, no doubt. So I got a problem though, and I was discussing this with my wife, and we disagreed on it a little bit. So we have the clown. We see the clown first, and he's not a ghosty clown. The kid just goes and like puts again, like Jay said, just move the friggin' clown. But no, we got to sneak out of our bed and put the jacket over it, and then run back real quick, and then put the anti demon and serial killer protection cotton sheets over your head, because axes don't go through that. Now, you also can't be possessed through cotton sheets. Not a lot of people know that. But Cassie or Melanie or Jay, I ask you this. I know the point of the movie is, look, Amityville Horror, if the walls start bleeding, leave. That's it. Like, once shit starts to go south, don't even sell the house. Just, sorry, we're going to take it a loss and go, right? So we had to have a vehicle where we have to trap the family there. And the way that we do that is by getting Carol Ann?
Carol Ann.
Yeah, sorry.
Carol Ann.
Into the parallel dimension that is in the house for reasons that we'll get to later. Okay, super. But here's my thing. I think, and see how you agree, the beginning of, and this is what I forgot about the movie, the tree that eats the child is in the beginning of the movie. Shouldn't that, you hold on to that till the end of the movie? Like,
I was surprised.
Yeah.
It'd been a long time since I'd seen it, so I agree. Like, it was like, whoa. But it had to be a reason for them to not be in the room to stop Carol Ann from, you know what I mean? You're not going to, like, gather your everything. You know, like, okay, everyone, come on. No, you're going to run right the hell out the door to go stop your son from being eaten by a tree. And that's exactly when, you know what I mean? And then, no, but then that's when she gets sucked into the closet. So you're not going to, I can not blame anybody for forgetting that she's still in bed.
And,
It's
well,
like,
and
it's
that's
like,
right. And it was treated, that's the whole point
Robbie's
of it.
being
The Poltergeist
sucked
did
into
that
the
for
tree.
diversion. But as far as that tree, even when I was little, I remember watching that going, why in the world would anybody keep that ugly dead tree in their yard? It's like they just built this neighborhood. It's brand new. The tree's obviously dead. It's a dead tree with hardly any branches on it. It's the most hideous thing ever.
With the side
and
face.
Nobody would do that. Like, I'm watching neighborhoods being built all around me right now, and they're cutting down gorgeous trees to just build neighborhoods. They would never leave one ugly ass tree that has no branches in the middle of some brand new neighborhood for no reason whatsoever. And I always hated that. But that tree was actually, they made a huge mechanical tree because they could have done it with computers, but they wanted it to really grab that little kid. And there was like 8-foot limbs or something. And it was all mechanical or something. But I'm like, why would they even keep that in the yard? I always remember saying that to myself. Like, why would you?
Cassie, how did you feel?
Well, I feel like after the tree like came in and was trying to eat him, I feel like there wasn't an appropriate reaction from the family. It's almost like they thought the storm, like they were acting like the storm made the tree go through the window, and not that it was actually like alive, right? They were just.
But it was like,
I guess
you could see like he was in a hole and he was being like sucked into this tree. You're like, okay, the storm isn't going to suck this kid into a tree.
And also, like, I understand, like, the distraction is, you know, they're worried about they can't find their daughter, but they don't think their daughter's missing right away.
Yeah.
And no one questions why the child who was just eaten by a tree is covered in strawberry jam. Like, we didn't really talk about that. Like, what? Wait a minute. How? Huh? Again, I'm not bagging on the movie. It's a great moment because everybody has seen a scary...
Oh, I actually didn't even notice that he had stuff on it. I just thought it was blood, I guess, on his face and scratches.
If I'm wrong, I apologize. Yeah. I apologize if I'm wrong, but I thought it was still the strawberry goo that is somehow ectoplasm or something.
No. She was right. It was blood and cut.
Let me ask this.
Okay.
And it's... could they have picked a more adorable little girl?
Oh my gosh.
Like, I mean, she, you know what I mean? Like, she is like a living precious moments doll.
Spielberg picked her on purpose. Right? They wanted, what's her name? Drew Barrymore almost got the part. She was up for it. But when he wanted somebody that was more angelic looking, you know, and so he picked Heather O'Rourke for that. And then Drew Barrymore went to the E.T. movie,
Oh, well, so... Oh, man, you know, I don't know if she made the right choice. You know... Jesus God.
Perfect. She's
perfect. Do this little movie called E.T.
Yeah, it's only going to be in the theater for about a year.
Yeah, seriously. It was a year. It was cool.
Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
That's a long time.
I just recently watched that one, too.
Did you like it?
Cassie, do you like...
I did.
You did, okay. So, Cassie, did you see The Thing?
Yeah, I liked
you probably haven't seen The Thing.
No.
No, you should watch the thing. So here's the
No, she mentions
No.
it though. She mentions it in when she was watching Halloween.
Oh, all right.
Because they were watching
That's
the
right.
black and white one.
Okay.
They were watching the old one. Then John Carpenter ended up doing the thing, and that's the one. I think
I don't know if I have it in me for that
Hey,
one.
can I say something about the kids' room? So the little boy and the little girl are sharing a room, and they've got all kinds of. And I got to talk about Americana here in a minute because this movie's about the American dream. But before we go into that and see how you guys feel about it, so the room is evenly divided between the two, but kind of like her stuff is mingling with his stuff, like. So he's got some of the girly stuff on his room, and she's got some of the boy stuff. Again, boy, girl, I understand, but it's 82, 81, whatever it is. But, and I go, whatever. I don't care about that part. But he's got all these posters up. Star Wars posters. There's a Toys R Us sleeping bag in there, because I saw Jeffrey and the little giraffe. Anyway.
I saw that.
Yeah, you saw that. He also had an alien poster up in his room, in space. No one can hear you scream. Like, that was in there. Like, that's kind of nutty.
Oh, I never noticed
Yeah,
that.
it's
No, I
real
didn't
quick.
notice it either.
Yeah, I saw the egg with the crack on the top, and that's obviously alien. So I don't know why that's
Right.
in there, but it seemed kind of out of place. So look, here's the deal. Let's talk about this movie. Let's get into it. Let's go into some more of the scary stuff. And the scary stuff that Tobe Hooper, who is, again, an old hippie, and he directs some of the movies. He directed Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and a lot of his film, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, matter of fact, even though it's a totally different kind of movie, he talks about the disintegration of the nuclear family, right? Texas Chainsaw Massacre is about 5 people who are real close-knit family. They just all happen to wear other people's skin and are kind of inbred, right? Oh yeah.
In fact, next movie Cassie's
Texas
doing
Chainsaw
is,
Massacre.
Oh
the
my
Texas
Actually,
There
Chainsaw
Cassie,
are so many
it's-
movies I want to do with you, girl. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Cassie, seriously though, it's pretty bloodless. It's a bloodless movie. It's just
It
creepy
actually
as
kind
shit.
of is, actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's bloodless. In fact, there's a scene where there's a guy in a wheelchair that you were made to hate, and you can't wait for him to die. And he's like crippled. It's great. Anyhow, so
Is it based on truth
yes,
at all?
Ed Gein. Yes, it
Oh,
is.
no, I'm
Maybe
out.
not a dude
I'm
with a
out.
chainsaw in Texas, but so anyhow, so
I
he
would
comes
say
at
so.
this movie, and what's the first thing we get right out of the gate? The Star Spangled Banner, right? So we're setting up.
Yeah.
And when I watched this first as a kid, I'm just like, oh, it's Star Spangled Banner, whatever. And that's the song you used to hear. Hey, back in the day, TV went off the air at like 1 a.m. because there was nothing on.
Yeah,
So they just
and-
didn't bother. And the last thing they played was the Star Spangled Banner to conclude their broadcast day. So when you're young, you think, oh, that's what that is. But no, Tobe Hooper is setting up that this is the American dream. Like, we are starting with the Star Spangled Banner.
Interesting.
Right? And everything, you see the little boy, what's he reading? He's reading Captain America. He's got baseball stuff. He might as well be making an apple pie. What's the mom and the
Right.
dad? What's dad reading? Reagan, the man, the president. They're smoking weeds in their bedroom, by the way. Yeah, I know, like, no one can tell. Okay, I know the kids are young, but the kid walks in and doesn't even mention, which means they smoke weed a lot, which means also that they're probably old hippies that probably grew up in the late 60s, right? When, Woodstock had its, his mantra, but then it started to fail in the 70s. And now the idealistic teens of the 60s are now 30, 35 years old in the 80s, and they've given up on
Sure.
Woodstock. And now they're embracing Reagan, right? So here we have this idea, and also the idea, and then I'll shut up because I could do this for a while, that we are taking. I'm not saying I agree with this. This is not a political show. I'm just saying, like, what the movie is trying to tell us, in my opinion, and you guys can agree or disagree, is that they're telling us that we are sitting on, our American dream is built on the bodies of the past. And we do everything we can to make people forget about those bodies, bulldozer them, cover them with dirt, and they'll never come back again. And as long as we don't talk about it, it will go away. And we are actually kind of hinted at with this, with the first scene with the dead bird, right? What does mom want to do with the dead bird?
I forgot about that.
Flush the bird before anybody knows, right? And before anybody can say
forgot that
anything,
part.
because it might ruin the weekend. right? By the way, while Dad is trying to watch a football game, which is the funniest thing ever, right? More Americana, a man on a BMX with a case of beer going down the street. So American. So American.
Being chased by two
remote control cars.
Remote control
that
cars.
part too.
Right?
That was great.
So they're setting all of this up, and they're saying it'll never come back to haunt us as long as we just bury it and don't talk about it. People will forget it and then want a goldfish. Because what does the girl immediately want? Can we get a goldfish?
I have to butt in because that's one of my favorite parts.
Go, please.
And me and my daughter have like so many lines that we say from this movie all the time, but I literally love that part. She's like sitting there, oh my God, Tweety, why couldn't you wait for a school day? And then like the little girl has a cigar box and she's like, you know, putting a tissue in there for when he's cold or when he's tired or whatever she says. And then she's like a Twizzler for when he's hungry, and a family picture for when he's lonely. And she's so distraught. And of course the kid's up in the tree going, hey, can we like dig it up later on and look at the bones? And you know, so like there's this whole sad thing about the poor little bird. Within 2 seconds, freaking love this part. Can we get a goldfish now? And then 2 seconds later, the very next scene, she's seen overfeeding the goldfish. And I just love that scene. There's so many cute scenes in this movie. And just talking about cute scenes, like when they're counting the thunder. You know, and he's talking about how, you know, this just count the thunder. And then you can, you know, you can count like how many seconds there is between the thunder and the lightning. Next scene, all the kids are in the big boom and all the kids are in the bed with the parents. Love that part. Or like, you know, the mosquito scene where they're doing the mosquito scene and like literally they're sitting there and like every 2 seconds, have you seen anything a little unusual going on? You know, like slapping themselves every 5 seconds. Yep. Or like the parents smoking pot in bed or, you know, just so many cute things that are in this movie. Or when they're like, when the little girl's being shot across the floor on her butt and she's like, you know, I'm hungry. I want pepperoni pizza. You know, like it's like no big deal whatsoever. I'm hungry. I want pepperoni pizza. And the mom's jumping up and down in excitement. And the father's like, oh my God. There's so much humor in this movie.
I know there is. Cassie, if you were small and you were suddenly dragged across the kitchen by an invisible force, would you ever get used to that?
Oh my God. No. I just obviously, like, so the ghosts were talking to Carol Ann, right? And we find out later that it was talking to her like another child, but it was really this like evil spirit beast, right? Do you think that's why she wasn't scared in the beginning? Because it was talking to her like a child and like, you know, she was like, what? I can't hear you. And like being like, and that's why, right? She wasn't scared. It was because they were probably seemed nice to her at the time. So maybe that's why she was unaffected.
I would probably say that the innocence is still there. She's so young that why would anybody hurt her? No one in her life has hurt her. So if there's a voice talking to you, and as long as it doesn't listen to Gore, then you know what I mean? I don't think, and that's like also part of the gig with people that do believe in the spirit world, that, you know, children see ghosts more than adults do because children don't have any skepticism yet, right? It's the Santa Claus, you know what I mean? You stop believing in Santa once you get too old. And so that's probably the deal, right? So I think that's it. I think she's just, and that's why they like Toby Hooper cast her, is that she's so innocent, she's so angelic that, or whoever cast her, that you would believe that.
I have a question about the thunder thing, because I grew up counting between thunder and lightning, but was that always a thing, or did that come from this movie?
That's always a thing. That's always a thing, because
wasn't sure if it, you know, one of those things I missed because I never saw any movies as a kid. Was that like made popular by this movie, or that's always
no? Get ready to get bored. The speed of light is 300 million meters per second. The speed of sound is 330 meters per second. If you divide one by the other and then convert into miles, if you count the seconds and divide by 5, that's the number of miles that the Thunderhead is from where you are.
You're right.
And Mr. Wizard now retires. All right. I do that calculation in my class. So, yeah, I suck. So anyhow, so let's get into it even more. So now the child is missing. It's been sucked into a vortex. They can't sell the house. So it's a good way to keep them around. So he's not going to go to the police because they're going to think he's crazy. So they go to a paranormal investigator, which I think is adorable. These 3 people that, basically this is their hobby. This is the first time you ever see a ghost hunter ever. And no, that's not true. The Entity was the first time you see a ghost hunter. Anybody see The Entity?
Yes,
Oh, Cassie,
so
I got a movie for you.
No.
Cassie, I got a movie for you. It's let me set the stage. It's a ghost that haunts a woman, and the ghost, and this isn't funny, I'm not making a joke of this.
Yeah.
The ghost actively rapes the woman on screen. It's horrific. And I'll one up that. I was doing a rockathon. I was doing a rockathon. Now, I don't know what a rockathon is, but you go in rocking chairs and you with your friends and it's a fundraiser. And you rock all night long in your rocking chairs and you stay up for like 24 hours, right? And this was sponsored by my church. And the church decided the horror movie they were going to show us was The Entity in the basement of the church. We're watching this woman get actively, rape is not funny, folks, it's not what I'm laughing at, actively raped over and again, naked, full on naked.
Oh
my God. It was crazy.
There's no way they pre-screened that.
No, they did not. After the 3rd scene, they're like, click, we're done. They kind of went with it a little bit. But if you ever see the movie, it's so not okay to watch at all.
I will never
it's so
see that.
bad.
That's on my note.
Oh, no, I'm not recommending it. It's tough to watch. 100%. Anyway, so
and
here
it's
comes...
supposed to be a true story.
Yes. It's the people from The Conjuring. Like the family that investigates the house in The Conjuring, it's that. It's Lorraine something. Anyway, bottom line here, they go to a paranormal investigator. They come over in one of the greatest scenes where it's like, hey, we know what we're doing. We look at ghosts, and once I saw a car go across a room, and it took 7 hours.
7 hours.
And Craig T. Nelson's like, yeah, okay, hold my beer, and then opens the door and shit's flying around. That's the best. But
yes, and the very next scene is the lady sitting there trying to drink her tea and her cup is shaking everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
love that.
So Cassie, if you were in a haunted house where you just saw shit flying around in a room, only in that room, and you were up late at night and you had the munchies, first question, would you go for a raw steak to cook at 2 in the morning?
At someone's house that you just met.
All right, that's a sirloin. That was like 2 in...
Exactly.
Like the Cheetos, fine. But Cassie, if ever you come over, you can't have the steak. It's kind of off limits.
I think I said that in my reaction, like, oh, we're just gonna do a T-bone at 2 in the morning and someone else is
and
home.
It's not a quiet cook. Like,
No. No, it's not.
No, exactly. Everyone else is sleeping. You just grilling.
Goes up to Craig T. Nelson, tap, tap, tap. Hey, sorry, where's your butane torch? I gotta turn on the grill. Hope you don't mind. Where's the Cajun seasoning? And after that, I'm gonna pick my face off. I hope you don't mind.
This movie loves whispering. This movie has a lot of whispering.
Too much whispering.
I had to turn my. I couldn't watch that part. I had to turn away.
When he picks his face off.
That's the worst
When I was a child,
ever.
was that? What'd you say, Melanie?
Worst
That was the
special
worst?
I've ever seen in my life. Ever. I'm sorry, and I
Yep.
know it won awards, okay? I know back in that
Yep.
day it was supposed to be like freaking incredible, but I remember being young, watching this, thinking that looks so stupid. Because the guy's face was like square and obviously robotic and shaking everywhere, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the dumbest looking thing I've ever seen. I know it's supposed to be state of the art, but even back in the day, I did not look at that like that was state of the art. I was like, this is horrible. I am such a nerd about special effects, and it's always been bad to me.
So Cassie, are you on the other side of the fence?
Remind me when this movie came out.
82.
82. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I just watched Superman for the first time, and I know those effects at the time were groundbreaking, but that train scene was so hilarious, like the special effects when he's running next to the train, and it looks just,
Sure.
But I usually am not a critic at all of special effects because I don't know, I'm easily persuaded, I guess, gullible, you could say, and so that scene, could not even watch. And maybe it was because the steak had just happened, and that was still fresh in my mind, and I was thinking that was happening to his
you're
face.
already there because maggots are a thing, and they can eat a part of steak, and that's what it looked like. And then all you can picture is maggots are going to eat this guy's face. However, I will say, I'm kind of on the fence because when I first saw it, I was small, and I could not watch that. And now it's kind of one of those doesn't hold up, kind of just looks like a clay head. Like in Terminator.
Yes.
When Arnold Schwarzenegger takes his eye out, and it's obviously just a robotic head.
It looks just like
that. But that was really... I know, yeah, it's kind of the same deal, but
I never even noticed that.
All right, that's cool.
I'm not a critic.
So, neither are we. That's why we're the crickets.
We're crickets. Can we agree that after the initial scares of the movie, and there are creepy moments, don't you think the movie kind of slows down in the middle, and there's so much whispering? So much whispering.
See,
and I have one of those TVs where the music is friggin' loud and then you can't hear the dialogue. I just can't get the EQ right.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. But it's like, why they whisper? Stop whispering.
It's a big thing.
And even the big expositional scene with Zelda Rubinstein, the medium, she explained everything she thought was going on in the netherworld while whispering, and I missed all of it. And it didn't matter. Because I figured it out.
Gotta have subtitles.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I didn't subtitle. I guess I could have. I just don't. I guess I'm a purist. But I guess the fact of the matter, do you, or am I full? I just want people's feelings on this. Do you think in the middle it got a little slow? I'm not saying it's not scary, but it kind of slowed down a tad. And are you okay with it? Or do you disagree?
Go ahead,
Cassie, go ahead, and then I'll.
Anybody?
We'll
No,
Okay,
you guys
all right.
go. You go.
Well, I just don't want to I don't want to be like the people that aren't letting you talk. So that's why I'm trying to
You mean like me?
no, not at all.
So
Not
I
at
would say
all.
no. I don't think it does slow down in the middle when the whispering and everything is happening. I noticed a lot, but I think that's where they really tap into some more emotions, and they sell it very well.
Okay.
I really buy into how much Jo Beth Williams' character loves Carol Ann. And it was kind of a nice little moment with the kid talking, because, I mean, he's not much older than Carol Ann. So he's saying stuff like that's just awful, and he doesn't even mean to, but he's like, what if I died? And then I could go in there and help him. I'm like, oh my God, that's brutal. I don't want to hear my kid talk about, what if I were to die so I could save her? And it's like, oh my God, no kid should go through such a thing. So and I bought into his emotions.
Oh my gosh, that poor kid is going to need so much therapy after.
Okay.
He
But
saw
I
too
love
much.
that part too. I love when she's talking about life and death and what some people believe and what other people believe. You just kind of stop and it kind of just takes your breath away. I kind of feel like the way she's explaining it just draws you in, and it's just you just need to just quiet down for a minute and listen. I never thought that there was a part that was boring at all in this movie.
Okay.
I love every freaking minute of it. Every
You know what's
minute.
funny?
I wasn't.
You know what's funny?
For the record, I wasn't saying boring. I just said slowed down.
No, I know what you
didn't
mean,
say
because I feel like a
necessarily
lot of
boring.
movies have slow
Yeah.
points, but for this, I didn't. I just didn't feel like that way. I feel like every single thing that I felt like it was so well written, it was insane, and every single piece had a meaning to it, and it just drew you right into it. I can't tell you how much I'm just infatuated with this movie.
You know what's
All
great?
right. So,
is-
let me go, Cassie.
I think the pacing worked so when you asked what was scary about this, I think as a mom, I'm a mom, and to imagine being so helpless, and your little girl is saying, "Mom, please help me," and not being able to do anything, that is like the ultimate horror for a mom, right? And so that part was still terrifying to me because I just kept picturing if that was my little girl who I couldn't help, and you hear these voices coming after her and this beast. I can't imagine that. And then when the first older lady, the T lady, when she says, I am not going anywhere. And I just, I put myself in that situation. And at that point, you would be just so desperate for someone, please help me. Like, it feels helpless. for her to say that to her was like so special, because I'm like, you would just be so desperate for anyone to help you to have the slightest idea of what to do next, how to help get your little girl back. And so that part was meaningful to me in the sense that, like, I'm going to help you. I'm not going anywhere. It was just like, thank
Did it
you
bring
so
tears
much.
to your eyes?
You know what I mean?
Because I've seen this movie so many times, and just from a girl's point of view, and I have kids too. I swear to God, every time I see that part that you're talking about where she hugs her, and especially where she's like, you can smell her. This is how she smells. And she's got her scarf and she hugs her.
Yeah.
I swear to
That's
God, my
tough.
eyes start tingling like they're burning, like I'm going to cry. Like, do you feel like
But
that being a girl?
Yeah. Oh, I was
that's how I
teary-eyed
am.
almost the whole time, and I couldn't tell if that was because I was so scared. Like those jump scares. Sometimes when I do get super scared, I want to cry. But I think so much of it was just like coming from that mom's perspective and that helplessness of your little girl being taken away, and like, you know, your whole family just being in this terrible situation. But I loved the family.
I do
loved
too.
the way they
Yeah.
stuck together.
I love
I,
the parents'
well-
relationship.
The
How
mom and
sweet
dad
they are. I love
relationship
their
was so sweet to
relationship.
me.
I want, like, I told my husband, I'm like, when we get older, I just want that relationship with us. I said, if our kids go away, we're just gonna start smoking pot. No, I'm just kidding. Like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking around. I love their
It's a
I
retirement
love their
plan.
relationship. They're just
Yeah.
so funny together and so loving, and I just absolutely love everything about them. I think they're so cute.
Well,
I
I
will
like. Yeah.
Jay, go.
No, I was gonna say one. I did think it was kind of funny though when she, could smell her on her, and she goes,
Yes.
"Smell her." It was like the woman had never met Carol,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
Yeah.
yes,
Right.
it does smell like your daughter.
Oh, you're right.
I just thought that was kind of funny, but I mean,
But
it is a real emotional moment,
It
and I
is.
do agree. But I just, I like to look at it from that angle too. But I just wanted to say I love how this movie begins with, like, all right, yes, the first moment is her talking to the TV, and everybody comes down and goes, "What the hell?" But that's just to show you that it's a weird movie, or like some eerie thing. Then I like how it warms up to, you know what I mean? Like it shows you like them living normal with the football and the beer spraying. It's completely spraying past their faces when they're, and then the Mr. Rogers thing with the neighbor, like,
I love that.
Right.
so we didn't start with just fear. It was get to know these people, fall in love with them as a family. Then once bad stuff happens, you start to feel really bad for them.
But let's think about, if I can though, let's think of it this way. This is why I asked the question about it being slow in the middle, and I think it caters to what Tobe Hooper was trying to do with the tone of this movie, because you have all of those really awesome, funny, light domestic scenes happening on the surface, but the truth is buried underground, right? Like their foundation of their wonderful world is sitting on top of a lie. And I'm not going to get very deep on that, because I think I might be somewhat full of shit, but I think it's a pretty good thesis that he's trying to make it light on the top, because all of that other stuff is buried below. They don't know it. It's not quote unquote, it's not quote unquote their fault, because it's really the guy who's the developer. It's his fault. He moved the headstones and not the bodies. It's not quote their fault, but they're reaping the rewards of sitting down on basically the past, right? And the other thing I want to mention too, and to the relationship, and they do have a super relationship. The husband and wife have a fantastic relationship, and they're never not happy. Like, you don't see them like even when shit's going down, they're not like picking at each other and finding everything wrong with each other. You could see in other movies, no doubt about it, right? Yeah, they're supportive of each other. However, their relation, I think, once all of that, the terror is over, they think. And they're finally decided we're moving out of the house. They get Carol Ann back, and they're moving out of the house, and they have that exchange in front of the van. That exchange is the most genuine exchange between them in the entire movie, because everything else has been stripped away, and now it's just them. They're back down to boxes, right? Their whole life is done and they're deciding together, we're getting the hell out of here and it's you and me and we can do anything. And you get more of that vibe when they look at each other at that moment than when they're high in their bedroom and he's going to pretend like he's doing a swan dive, all that silly shit, because it's all there, which is kind of neat.
Right.
Now, my point saying before is that I think the movie slows down because you can't just have scare after scare after scare. That's not a movie, right? You can't. You're just constantly on edge. So they got to slow it down. And what's great about it, and again, I think this is Tobe Hooper, is saying we're going to slow it down. We're going to have these relationships. We can find out about Jo Beth Williams. We can find out about the son. We can find out about all these other people, even about the paranormal investigators, and we can care about them. And then Zelda comes in and says, I've got the answer. This is what we're going to do. And they believe her because there's this trust, And if you don't slow it down in the middle, because if you don't slow it down, you don't necessarily are given the time to listen to Zelda. I forgot her name. What's her name?
The real name of her?
In the character.
No, the character.
Zelda.
I don't remember. Doesn't matter. So
Zelda's a real name.
Oh yeah, Zelda Rubinstein is her real name.
Rubinstein. But my point is that we are to believe. Toby is setting us up that we are going to believe Zelda, and that she's going to solve the problem, and we think she does, but she's absolutely not correct.
Yep.
At all. She's totally wrong. She fixed
right
the
about
problem. She fixed one part, not the big problem, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so if we don't have that trust, then the big surprise ending at the end doesn't work. It doesn't work unless you slow it down and let us kind of stew in it a little bit. And then when he throws monsters at you at the end and coffins sticking up from the ground, you're absolutely taken aback because that's not a Spielberg ending. The Spielberg ending is everybody's happy and the family's back together. The Tobe Hooper ending is, oh no, they're still in some serious shit and they may never get out of it. And that's good stuff.
Melanie,
sorry. Now I'm done.
Tell us about the
I have so much shit to tell you about this movie. It's not even funny. I'm sitting here looking at okay, Cassie, what I do is I do crap load of notes. And let me tell you, I have a billion of them. And I have so much of these things in here looking. I'm like, oh my God, I want to say so many things. So, okay, the coffin's popping up. First of all, when they built the set of the movie, well, let me just tell you about the house. The house, there was an original house. The original owners of this house, the whole outdoor scenes, the people who live there, they still live there. They've never moved out of that house for real. The people, still live there. No. But when they built the set for the indoor scenes, they built it 10 feet off the ground so they could have these coffins popping up. And when they did the all the skeletons coming out of the, how she was jumped in the pool and all those skeletons were coming out? You're going to die when you hear this. Let me tell you this. They were real bodies, real skeletons. Because this is what people did back then in movies. It was not a horrible thing to do back then. It was cheaper for them to go ahead and do medical supply groups that would actually offer real skeletons. And they put them in the pool with her. And she did not know that at the time. She was so upset later on. She did not know.
She didn't know.
And she was more scared of the electricity outside. She did not want to go into the water because she was scared of all these lights falling into the water. So Spielberg jumped in with her and he was like, okay, if one of these lights falls in, we're both going to fry. It kind of helped her to get into the water, but she didn't know that these skeletons were actually real. They would never be able to get away with this shit nowadays, but they did, and this was not the only movie that people did this with.
My gosh.
And they were real skeletons, and that's why there's a lot of people that died that actually made this movie, and there's a whole curse thing that people talk about if you've ever heard about the Poltergeist curse, and people blame it on these bodies, but really doesn't have anything to do with that. But I have deaths on, if you ever want to hear about what's going on, real deaths that happened in this movie, I can tell you because I wrote that down. But a lot of people blame it on the fact that there were real skeletons in that pool with her.
I gotta say one thing about the skeletons, though. They're cheaper than
fake skeletons. They are,
and
that's
skeleton.
why they did them.
Fake skeletons are expensive. Real skeletons are cheap. So, because you can get them for science classrooms if you want to.
Then
So
they're no better than the people who moved to the cemetery and didn't move the
You have a
bodies. They
point.
used real
Can you
bodies in
believe
there.
that?
Cassie, you have a
It is to, like,
point.
the people's families. I can't even believe that they would do something like that. They would never be able to get away with something these days, but back in the day, this was acceptable, and this was not the only movie that people did this in. For the cost, it was cheaper. Like he said, it was much more expensive to build props than it was to just buy real skeletons from medical supply groups. Yeah.
You know, it's funny because
Yeah, the
watching that whole movie, for some reason, when the skeletons started, I mean, the skeletons in the pool were horrifying, but then the whole skeletons popping out of the ground, that was probably the least scary part for me because I'm like, okay, like it got almost like too much.
Now you know.
But now that I know they were real, that's, yeah, I don't know about
it's
that.
kind of a little. It's terrifying, but it's also a bit like haunted house at a carnival kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it's a little. You're right. It is a little over the top, but also at this point we have giant skulls. We have creepy, wistful, dog-like creatures. We've got, you know.
But let me tell you about that one part.
I think he tried to.
When you're talking about the very end of it
Go ahead.
there. Okay, and I just always notice this. Do you remember when they're like, oh my God, get in the car before the whole house goes into the ground? Get in the car, we're leaving.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you see Dana, the teenage daughter, get dropped off just in the freaking nick of time to get into the car. What were they going to do? Leave her there? Like, you know, she's literally on the way to the house and she jumps in the car at the last second. So they know, do they know she's coming home at that time? I don't know. Do they know I don't know. But the point is what if she
I don't
showed
think they
up?
cared at that point. I think they're going to move forward, find
What
her
if
if they
she
had
showed
to.
up like a minute later and these people had already gotten the hell out of there and now their teenage daughters, before the house goes into the ground, is running into the house. She's coming home. She could have been running into the house before the house went into the ground, and they're taking off in the car, not even thinking about their teenage daughter whatsoever. I noticed that when I was watching it. I'm like, wait, did she get there in the nick of time? Because they were just going to leave her there. Like, they're just going to take off, and she's getting dropped off in front of the house.
You could make the argument that the family cares more about the golden retriever, because he came zipping out and he's sitting in the driver's seat and he's like, "Hey, Dad, what's up? Can we go now? How about a treat?
How is he
why
even
can't you
in
get
the
the keys out of your
driver's
pocket?"
seat? Because, like, Robbie and the dog, this kid is 8 years old, and they're putting him in a taxi by himself to go to his grandmother's house.
That broke my heart too.
And then they throw the dog in there at the last second. Like, did you notice that as a mom? You're sending an 8-year-old kid in the taxi by himself. Bye, see you later. Go to grandma's house. Call me.
Yeah. I'm like, that must be a 80s thing, because I'm like, not only did he just see his own sister, you know, live in their walls of their house, so he's like horrified in every way. And they're like, okay,
go with
you
go
I know, but
into
is
the
it an
taxi
80s
and we'll see you later.
Yeah. Is it an 80s thing for the subcontractors to actively hit on a 15-year-old and you don't shoot them in the face? Like, shoot them in the face over and over again? Like, is that a thing from the 80s as well? Gross.
Exactly.
1,000% gross.
Well, let me,
and the mom's like, "Oh, she's so strong." No, they're scumbags. They should be fired immediately and shoot them in the face as well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay, well, do you know, I'm sorry, Jay, do you know that guy that drank the coffee, that when he's talking about the contractor? Remember that?
Yeah.
She pulled the shade down on him. Cassie, you're going to freak out about this.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, good coffee, Mrs. Whatever." Her name was Mrs. What was her name?
Yeah.
Freeling.
Yeah. So, he got murdered in his house. For real. That actor.
Like the actor did.
Yeah. And if you want to go into the whole, did you hear about the Poltergeist curse, Cassie?
No.
Oh, shit.
No.
All right. So let's just go run down it real
Melanie's
quick.
eyes just lighted up. All right, everybody. I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Get back here, Chris. Okay. This one.
I'm just kidding.
All right. You know, Heather Rourke was a cute little girl. Okay. She was actually misdiagnosed of having Crohn's disease, and she actually had an intestinal blockage, and she died in recovery. For real. She died in 1988. She was the first one.
Was it right after wrapping the third movie?
Oh, she wasn't actually the first
think it
one.
was
She
in the
was
middle of
third
the
one.
third
Yeah, in the
movie.
third one. So
She
what
was
happened?
so young then.
I know, and she was so cute.
12.
Actually 12 because they made 3 of them. So in the middle
Oh.
of 3, she couldn't complete it because they had to put a double in. But in the 3, if you see, her face is very swollen because her doctor was giving her steroids, which actually made her face swollen, and she was very self-conscious about it. But she was very excited to be in these movies. It meant so much to her, and she was so proud of them. But yeah, she was mixed diagnosed, and she had an intestinal blockage. Dominique Dunn was Dana. She was the girl who was playing a 16-year-old, her older daughter. Now, this movie was released, and within about 5 months of this movie being released, she was strangled by her boyfriend. So she was actually she died.
And killed?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
So the older sister was the first one to die because within the first few months of the release of this movie, she died first. She was short. She was 3 weeks short of her 23rd birthday. She was actually rehearsing with another guy called David Packer. She was rehearsing for an upcoming series called V, and her ex-boyfriend showed up, and they had an argument, and he strangled her. She was in a coma. She never woke up from the coma. I have more on that because it really aggravates me that nobody.
These happy stories are brought to you by
I know, right?
Cheetos.
Well, the thing is, this is the curse, and you wanted me to bring up the curse,
By
Jay.
raw
You wanted me to
steak.
bring it up. So
I'm joking.
Okay, so what actually pisses me off about this is because she was rehearsing her lines with somebody. And so he saw this guy, her ex-boyfriend, show up. And he called the police, and the police said, that's out of our jurisdiction. So they didn't come. And what also pisses me off even more is the fact that there was somebody that knew that something bad was happening to her, and they didn't stop it in time. So she was strangled, and she was in a coma. And enough time went by before the police even got there that this guy his name was Thomas Sweeney. He went and took pills to try to, kill himself, and he laid down next to her. All this time goes by before the cops even bother to show up. So it makes me so mad. So she basically died 5 days later, and he only served 3.5 years in prison for that. Yeah. And then Julian Beck, he was in part 2. He was the scary guy in part 2 because there were 3
God.
of these things. Now he was another guy. Now the thing is he knew he was dying of stomach cancer. He knew this was going to be his last film. He was very, very excited to do this, but he knew he was dying, and so he was kind of creepy because he was dying. But he was the bad guy in it, and he died September 14th, 1985. And the release date of Poltergeist 2 is May 23rd, 1986. So he was Reverend Kane in it. He never got to see the release of the movie. Then Will Sampson, his name was Taylor. He was a good spirit in part 2. He died June 3rd, 1987. But come on, this guy had kidney failure because he had a heart and lung transplant. So he's going to die of something probably. He was only 53 years old. He died. He was the 4th death in the 6-year span. So that's why they say there's a curse of the Poltergeist. And the guy, there's 2 other ones, but they were so far apart. So Zelda Rubinstein, who was the medium, she was actually a real medium, by the way. That's why she got her part.
Really?
She was a real medium. She was 76 years old.
Did she
That
act?
Starbucks should
Has
be a
she
grande.
acted in any other movies?
She has.
She had
I
that
have
very
seen her in other
distinct.
things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But,
She was in 16 Candles at the end.
Yes, she was.
Did you see 16
Oh, I
Candles?
haven't seen that
Yes.
one yet.
Oh, you'll love
I
that.
haven't
You'll
seen
love
that
that. It's
one
not
yet.
scary. You'll love that. So 2010,
Yeah.
she died, but she was 76 years old, and she had a heart attack. And now the construction worker that said, "Nice coffee, Mrs. Whatever," he did get murdered in his house. And April 11th, 2009. His name was Lou Perryman. So that's the whole Poltergeist curse.
That is bizarre.
It's because these people had legitimate reasons for dying, but yeah, and they were all so many different years apart. But go ahead, Chris.
No, I just think there's an exorcist curse as well. But if you ask Max von Sydow, I'm not going to go through all that. But if you ask him, he's very nonchalant about it. He's like, listen, hundreds of people work on a movie. If people die on it, people are born. It's just the way it is. He's crazy. So when you know enough people, I think bad stuff happens. It just so happens that with this, I'm not belittling the tragedies at all. Don't take it that way. I just think because this movie gets all that attention because the things that happen are so terrible. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know,
And six
but
of them
who's
were
to say what was
small.
happening
Yeah.
to
Well,
the second unit operator and the best boy and the gaffer? Like, we don't know what, you know, maybe he got his 4th divorce. I don't know. But yeah, that's good stuff, Melanie. That's fantastic. And I know that you have like this passion for this movie, and you also like, you're getting heated about that other stuff because these people don't deserve to be treated, particularly that actress, the way they were. And certainly the skeletons are not a
and
good
it just
thing.
makes me
And
so
Cassie
mad
looked
that
like
they
she was gonna throw
misdiagnosed
up.
Carol Ann because she was so young, and that makes me so upset about that too.
Oh, and she's
Well,
just
how much
the
was
most
known about
darling
Crohn's
little girl.
disease?
You just want to just hug her all the
So
time
cute.
in
Yeah.
watching her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you look like pretty like you're gonna throw up when you heard about this stuff. It's fine.
That is disturbing.
When you buy them, they look clean. They made them look gross, you know, like they're all
No, but
clean.
still, it's an
You don't-
actual human versus a rubber human or
just bones.
Yeah, well.
Just bones.
No, that was somebody's
Whatever.
family member. That's insane that they can do something like that. That's a family member.
Are you ready? You want to do final judgment?
Sure, let's hit it.
All right.
It's time now for final judgment. Are you ready to rubber stamp this bitch? Here's the final judgment.
All right, folks. It's time for final judgment. This is the time when we decide whether or not this movie stands up to the test of time. Not if it was good or bad, but if it actually stands up. So from this point forward, all opinions are fact. And we are going to decide whether or not this stands up. Cassie, I'm not going to put you on the spot. Did you want to go first on this, or should I
You
call
go
on
first.
someone else?
You go first.
Me go first.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what it is. We're bouncing it back to me, I guess. All right, so here's the deal. Yes, the movie holds up. I think it holds up. Not necessarily for a couple of the special effects are a little meh. Obviously, at times some are worse than others. I'm okay with the jelly people. I'm not okay with the fake guy ripping his face off. Like that's bad. But other things, you know, it's at some point it turns into a fantasy movie. It turns into a monster movie, and you have to suspend the window of disbelief. You know, you have to deal with there are these wispy ghosts, and that's cool. I would say that the tone of the movie, as I was trying to hit at before, the destruction of the American dream and nuclear family as seen by Tobe Hooper in the 1980s. I don't know that would be. A lot of movies were doing that back in the 80s, like Steven Spielberg, it's all about a lot of his movies are about the destruction of the nuclear family because his nuclear family was destroyed because his parents split up and so on and so forth. So anyhow, my point of the fact is that yes, it holds up. I think I didn't see the remake. Did someone here see the remake?
Yes, I
I
haven't.
think I did, but I don't remember it.
I
All
haven't
right. So I haven't seen it. Okay. Is it good?
It's good, but I don't want to think of it as a remake of Poltergeist because to me you could never remake it.
Okay.
Not with these actors that are in this, and I love them to pieces. So no, I don't want to look at
Right.
it like that. But if I didn't know Poltergeist and I watched it, I would like it.
Okay. I know Sam Rockwell's in it, and he's fantastic.
love him.
He's
but,
good.
He is.
my point is that the angle of that 80s Reaganism, nuclear family and hiding the sins of the past, you probably can't, quote, pardon the pun, dig that up again. But I haven't seen the movie, so I know they remade it. I don't know what the themes are in it. I can't imagine it's the same thing. They probably go for just more scares.
Yeah.
But having said that, I don't think it's dated. I except for some of the special effects, I think it's pretty good. So now, Cassie, boom, right back at you. Ha 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 ha. Now it's your turn. Go.
I absolutely.
Our esteemed guest.
I absolutely think it stands the test of time.
Okay.
People have said you are the people they make these movies for. Like the director would love your reaction because, I woke up the next morning feeling almost silly thinking back to my reaction but when I am watching it, it feels so real. And then for hours after, I was like, is that static? Like I thought I heard it on my Google Home and it was just like the water trickling through my pipes. And I don't know. And so I really, some would say, oh, those effects were so bad. It's not really truly scary anymore because it looks so fake. But like, to me, watching that, it was terrifying and at the same time like very sweet, which is crazy. And it had the happy endings that I live for. Like, you know, no one died in their family. They got Carol Ann back. They're gonna move. The boss's sin was discovered, and so and you know they stuck together. And so I don't know, it's interesting because I watched E.T. like a month ago, not even, and I think Steven Spielberg has this way of like, you know, I didn't even live through the 80s, but I like feel nostalgic for it. And it has this like special kind of 80s magic, this little what are the movies called where kids grow up in them? There's a word for it.
Coming of age. And so as scary as little kids are in horror movies, like I always say, like I don't want anything with kids because that's the worst. Like, you know, when the kids are possessed or anything. This was like a special way of doing that. And so I don't know, as much as scared as I was, I still really liked it and really liked that family and the way that they told that story. Super. All right.
Awesome.
Jay or Melanie, jump on in.
Go, Jay. You go first.
And either one.
All right. Yeah, no, I think it holds the test of time. I know it well. I saw it when I was I got cable back in the early 80s, and I was so enjoying myself. I associate this film with the HBO intro with that, where it would like fly off into space. You remember that? I know Cassie just said she didn't, you know, live through the 80s, so no. But it's one of those things that made the movie better, almost like it's like, here's the first time I'm watching this, and it was like this special event, the way it would set it up, the music, and then this movie plays, and I'm surrounded by my family. I wasn't watching it alone, so it's like, you know, like people are just saying, oh wow, this, that, you know, like they're making comments or whatever, you know, so you're experiencing it more in a fun way than it is, you know, like as far as like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like it's not as frightening when everybody's, you know, around and all making little like jokes about it or whatever. And so like there's always been like a fondness I've had for it, and it has been a nice long time since I've seen it, so that was a good test for me as well. And you know, the special effects, you know, like when, you know, the stuff's flying around the room and the Hulk is riding on the horse, I was like, that's pretty stop motion, you know, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer type, you know. So no, but it was still good though, like because I think the emotions of the film, like I said, the family, the fact that, I mean, how's that going to go out of style? You worrying about your kids, or you know what I mean, like or like the odd, crazy, stupid thing that happens, you can't control. You can't just reach in and get her back. You got to figure out how, and you can't tell the police. So it's like, you know, I mean, those things are, you know, that it's crazy. That's why when Craig T. Nelson's face when he's visiting the medium or the investigators at the college, he's like, you know, it's so drained.
It looks like hell.
It's like you can't, what are you gonna do? Call the cops? You know what I mean? So I mean, it's those emotions won't go out of style. So I mean, the acting was great, and it's just it's overall it holds up nicely.
Super. And Melanie hates the movie, so that was Film Crickets, everybody. If you want to come next, I'm just kidding.
Okay,
Melanie,
take this away from me because I'm going to tell you this is like, it's real close to Halloween for me. I have always adored this movie. I will, again, have this in the background 10,000 times, watch it. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've seen this movie. It's impossible for me to even tell you that. So I think it holds up because I think if it was released in the movie theater, I think people would love it. I know people of all ages that I've talked to have liked it. I don't like the special effects. You know, I'm like I said, I'm a big nerd about that. And I know back in the day that was like supposed to be state of the art and they won awards for that. But for me now, that's just a little bit off. That's the only thing though. I love the way it was filmed. I love the way it was written. I love the way it was directed. I love the actors. I am in love with the actors and their facial expressions and how well they played their parts. And you know me, I have to say a couple things. I have to just butt in here real quick and just say a couple things that I didn't get to say. I want to tell you that Heather Rourke kept the goldfish that she was overfeeding that became her pet.
Oh, cute.
And
fun.
that this is a thing too. Did you notice that when Carol Ann, when she's getting sucked into the closet, the bed post is breaking? She clearly lets go of that. She lets go and gets sucked into the closet. But when she gets sucked into the closet, she is now holding a piece of the bed frame. But she wasn't. She let go of it.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden, the next scene, she's getting sucked in and she's holding a piece of the bed frame. Then later on, when they showed the bed, when they're putting her back in the bedroom, why in the world would you do that? But when you're putting her back in the bedroom to go to sleep,
Right.
the bed is perfect and there's nothing wrong with it. So I noticed that.
Okay, it would be the buddy system in bed. Like we'd all like be interlocked.
First of all, you wouldn't even be going to sleep.
Yeah, I'm
You'd
gonna
be
put
in
my
the
leg
car.
over you.
Wouldn't even forget that. But then,
I'd sleep in the car.
Do you guys remember when Robbie was getting strangled by the clown? He actually really did get strangled when he was filming this film. He kept saying, "I can't breathe," and Spielberg and Toby thought he was ad-libbing because it was like new words they didn't tell him to say.
Nice.
But then they noticed that his face was turning purple because he really was getting choked, and they had to run over and get him pried apart from that. So that was actually kind of a little bit real. And then two other
Leslie's
funny
starting to
things
hate
real
Hollywood,
quick.
I think.
Remember how the little person had told her, the medium, she was like, get them in the water, put them in the water. Why are they going to be in the water? But put them in the water. They got to rinse off all their goo that they have on their plasma, whatever the hell it is. Did you guys notice it was a bubble bath? Why did they put bubbles in it? Okay,
really?
Come on now. Why are there bubbles?
Because
They're
Calgon
like, we gotta
take me
make
away,
this
man.
luxurious.
They're
Or...
going to make a
I
bubble bath. When
know.
they
There's
come
some
back,
white wine. There's some candles.
that killed me. I'd never
fine.
noticed that before, but I watched it the other night and I was telling my husband, why do they put bubbles in it? And then I loved it.
So
and
they
then
should.
of course, Jay, I know we've talked about it, at the very, very end of the movie, when everyone's exhausted and they just go into the hotel, and 2 seconds later you see the dad come out and he throws the TV outside. He's like, I'm not taking any chances with this TV. I just loved that. So
Yep.
of course I think it holds up. I am infatuated with the movie. I love the actors and I can't imagine anybody doing a better job with this. I can't imagine it being written any better, directed any better, or anybody participating in this movie that would do a better job. So this is one of those movies that you've asked me before, Chris, if this could ever be remade. Fuck no. No. They have remade
All
this
right,
movie
but
and
they
they did a
did.
good job, but I
All
don't
right.
want to look at it like that. I would watch the movie as something separate.
All
But
right.
no, why would you want to remake something that was done so well? No, sorry.
No,
Okay.
some
Yeah.
should be untouchable.
Yep.
I do want to say
Yeah.
one last thing about the theme at the end. Does that not sound like it could easily be something from a Christmas
Yes.
film?
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Yep.
I didn't even notice
like-
it.
Oh, yeah, it's like
Yep.
these little kids start coming in like. La,
Oh,
la,
yes,
la,
the little...
La, la, la.
Yeah, you're
No,
right.
but it's so
All right.
chill that it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all I keep expecting is like, why to the North Pole,
And again,
of course.
they did such a good job with the
I was gonna say
music, and that's what I mean. It's like literally everything about it. The music, the lighting, the filming. Even one of the parts where they were trying to make the lighting look special, they actually used a fish tank and had a fan blowing on the water with a light behind it, so you could see all that light kind of shimmering in the closet. But I just love how it was done, and I just can't imagine it being done anyway, except for, like I said, when they're pulling the guy's face apart. No, come on, give me some better special effects with that. And the hand coming out of the TV, you kid did better. But back then, that's what they had. So that's the only thing I don't like about it. But the rest, I just love it.
Well, Cassie, I want to thank you for joining us for one. And can you just you want to tell everybody all about your show?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's fun because my favorite part of movies is, when you're on the way home from the theater and you're talking about it with everyone in the car and you're looking up to see how much truth it was or tidbits about that. So this was super fun. I loved it to be able to talk to you guys about it. So yeah, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Popcorn in Bed. And basically I spent my whole life only watching chick flicks and happy endings, missed pretty much every classic my whole life. So I am catching up and watching movies for the first time, big ones like everything from Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings, Ghostbusters, and new ones as well that are coming out now. And I do a lot with my sister. She comes on. She kind of had the same background as me, and so we're having a ton of fun. We've got an amazing community. I have a Patreon that maybe we can link in the show notes, and then yeah, come on over to the channel. And people, when I first heard of movie reactions, I thought it was super weird, but the way I like to describe it is watching with me is maybe a way for you to be watching your favorite movies for the first time again, and just watching a movie with a friend. So yeah, we have a lot of fun. It's the best job in the whole world, and it's a really great community.
Super.
Awesome.
We're very thankful you were here. So
Hey,
thank you very much,
Cassie,
Cassie.
Yeah, thanks
I
again
totally
for having
love
me.
you,
This was
and,
super fun.
And I'm gonna start watching all of your things.
Mm-hmm.
I just, it's just, like I said, it's just crazy. You just have such a nick for this, and I think that just somebody watching you just feels like they know you right away. You just have that about you, and I have a movie that I don't know
Oh,
if
that
you'd
is
ever
so
be
kind.
interested in
Thank you.
doing again, but I would love to have you back for Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay, I've heard about that one. Maybe in October.
Oh, boy.
Let's talk about that.
All right. Oh,
Okay.
my God. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but one last thing I want to thank also your kid for accidentally texting me a month ago or two, and that's how we actually finally got connected. Do you remember that?
Yeah, on Instagram they left a voice message or something, or yeah.
It was like a minute long. I because listen, I know you're busy. You got a lot going on. That channel is hopping. So I had reached out a couple times, and I don't always expect anything back. As many times I don't get people. You know what I mean? So
Right. I promise I was
and then
not ignoring you. I'm just so behind on.
No, I get it. But it's funny.
destiny.
I saw the black. You know how it gets like dark. To
Right.
show somebody's actually. And it was a voice one. So I'm listening, and I just hear shuffling and background noise like television, and I'm like, a kid did this. I know it.
You're
My
like,
son
this
does
is a
this
kid.
all the time to people.
Tiny people.
So then I wrote. I was like, just so you know, I just got texted from your message from your kid. I think, which was like a background noise, and I said, I totally understand. My son does this all the time.
Yeah.
And then she
Well,
reached
it's a
out and
happy
said, I'm
accident.
actually
Got us
thinking.
connected.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Thank you so
Awesome.
much, and
Hey,
have a
thanks
great week,
again.
folks.
It was great to
Thank
meet
you
all you
so
guys.
much.
Bye bye.
Nice
Awesome.
meeting you.
Crickets, chirp about movie.